Welcome to the Conscious Pivot Podcast with international speaker, business mentor, best-selling author of Pivot, and your host, Adam Markel. The Conscious Pivot shares the stories and wisdom of people who have successfully reinvented some area of their business and personal life. You'll gain powerful insights into how you can fully embrace new opportunities, increase your performance, and master the art and science of innovation and resilience. So please join Adam as he guides you on your conscious pivot.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Conscious Pivot Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Markel, and I'm really excited. I'm just sitting here sort of in mid-afternoon on the West Coast, gorgeous day, very breezy today. Kind of a lot of things kind of blowing around, but the water is this steel blue. The sky's just got these high level white clouds. You can hear in the background probably there's a big sort of beach chime that like a harbor chime that I've got hanging on the like below decks, and yet it's so windy you can hear it in the background just a little bit. I'm thrilled. I have a great guest today. I'm so excited actually to get into the juicy bits of the conversation we're going to have that I don't even have any sort of pre-frame. I just want to just get started actually, which is a good sign. Her name is Jennifer Hurvitz, and I'm going to read a little bit of her bio as I ordinarily do, and then we'll dig into some of the stuff that's not there as well, which is the juicy bits, of course. So Jennifer is known for her no-nonsense approach to all things love, sex, and relationships, and is proud to say she's made quite a career out of a pretty disastrous set of circumstances, which include her own divorce. She's a certified divorce specialist, CDS. I'd actually never heard of that. Probably should have, but haven't. She's a public speaker, a best-selling author, and the host of Doing Divorce Right, the Doing Divorce Right podcast. Divorced since 2014, Jennifer lives in Charlotte, which I love that city. It's beautiful there. Charlotte, with her two kick-ass teenage boys. Through her popular blog, The Truth Hurvitz. Get that? Just let that land for a second. The Truth Hurvitz. And her weekly podcast, Jennifer helps people understand what a happy divorce can look like and how to dip their toes back into the dating world. She loves sharing her insight on how to stay in a successful marriage as well. That's really good to know. Jennifer has also been featured on Oprah Magazine, Bustle, Scary Mommy, Blunt Mom, Suburban Misfit Mom, and many others. I literally was reading that and cracking up those titles. Wow. Jennifer, welcome to the show today.
Hi, Adam. How are you? I'm sitting here going, oh, I want to talk. How are you? How are you?
Yeah, way cool. All right. So there's a lot in there. There's definitely a theme. I want to ask you, what's not written in that bio that you would love for people to know about?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm just so happy to be here. What's not there? Where do I even start? What's not there? I don't know. There's a lot there, right? I don't even know where to start. I think that people need to know that I don't know, like I'm kind of happy. I'm happy. My life is doing really well. It started out really crappy in the last 5 years. And I kind of took my divorce and made it into a career, which I think a lot of us do after a divorce. We don't know what to do. I was in a 13-year marriage and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I gave up my career as a DJ to stay home with my kids, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. And then one day I was like, oh my God, what now? Right? I'm divorced. What am I going to do? And I had no clue. And I'm here. That's it, So I kind of.
So here's a question. Here's a question.
That's got lots of them. Let's go.
Right, I got lots of them. But no, this idea of being okay, being happy. I mean, that's its own little thing, right? Because I'm not saying that you're uncomfortable in saying that, but it is one of those things where I think Brene Brown talks a lot about that sometimes vulnerability is as much about admitting that things are going well, that I'm in a good place, that my life is working, that my TED Talk was all about loving your life, and I can't tell you how many people, which wasn't really as shocking as it might seem, but a lot of people push back on that, that they're not ready to say to sort of own the joy in their life as easily as they will own the pain.
I'm with you. And you know what? I loved your TED Talk. I loved it. I loved how you sat down. I loved the whistle. I loved everything about it. It was fabulous, first of all. Second of all, I think that you have to, it's funny, as I'm working on my TED Talk, I have one in April. It's funny. One of my coaches said to me, I think that saying to people, it's called choose happy, like choose happy is part of it. And my coach was like, you can't really tell people to choose happy, because if people are really depressed, they're going to be upset by that. And I was like, you know what? I don't agree. I think that, depression, anxiety, all of that stuff, I have that going on too, to be put it out there. And I choose happy every day. I wake up and I'm like, look, I'm going to choose happy like I choose my underwear. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to own it. I'm going to step in that space. And I just think it's a choice to be happy, right? You either are or you aren't. So
well, let's talk about underwear for a second. now, before we really go down that rabbit hole, I'll just say this: underwear, you choose underwear for its comfort, right?
Sure.
I mean, I should say, hold on.
Okay, sometimes, unless you're wearing a thong.
Sometimes you do not choose underwear for its comfort. You choose it for other purposes, right?
Right.
But let's just say the daily undergarments are chosen. I mean, for me anyway, because they're comfortable. I'm not going to put on something that makes me have to pick it out of my crack or whatever, and because that's no fun, I don't think. So being that we choose, as you said, we can choose to be happy, let's say, or choose to look at things through a lens which provides us opportunities versus the places where we've been aggrieved.
Right.
Maybe just people are more comfortable. Maybe the underwear that they put on is the underwear of pain and the story of suffering. I mean, we all have it. I mean, seriously.
When I first got divorced, of course, like everyone says to me, One Happy Divorce is one of my books. And then Doing Divorce Right. Everyone's like, how are you so happy? Look, I was not happy to be divorced. Let me just say that really quickly. I'm not saying like One Happy Divorce or Doing Divorce Right. Like I'm not happy to be divorced. I'm in a happy divorce. Two different things. Very different. I didn't wake up one day and say, oh, I'm so happy I'm going to get divorced. No. Look, there's no way divorce is happy. There's nothing happy about divorce. But I chose to do divorce right. I looked at my ex-husband. I call him my husband. I looked at him and I said, look, you're either stuck with me forever or we're going to do this the right way. We're going to be amicable. We're going to be kind. We're going to be, nice to each other. And our kids are going to be we're going to make it as easy on them as we possibly can, because this sucks. There's nothing good about divorce. I hated it.
How could it not suck? Especially when there are kids involved. Like if there's no kids involved, it still sucks, but it's a very different thing. I'm a child of divorce. My brother and I,
it, right?
Yeah, my parents were married almost 25 years. Before I got on, with you, I was like, Mom, I gotta go. I got a podcast to do. I gotta go. Oh, she's still the same. She's the same as ever.
Right.
And you know what? She's come a long way, but I'll tell you what, until even as 2-3 years ago, she was still talking about her divorce.
Yes, it's awful.
And still talking about it. And I don't mean talking about it in a nice way or in a loving way.
No. And I'm not saying that there aren't divorces that have to happen. Look, that's not what I'm saying. If you have to get divorced, if it's I'm not saying stay in an emotionally or physically abusive relationship, get out. That's not what I'm saying. But here's the thing. I feel like I jumped too soon. I thought the grass was going to be greener. I was looking at a lens through, my therapist was married. My parents were married for 50 years. My sister was married. My friends were married. I was like, you know what? This isn't working. I'm just going to leave. I was like, what? Do the work, because it sucks. The grass is not greener, So I know I'm going all over the place, but my point is you have to choose to be happy. You really do. You have to. And so my friends are like, well, how are you so, I was miserable. I was sad. But then I woke up one day and I said, you know what? I have to flip a switch. I cannot be angry and upset and sad for the rest of my life. I have to turn these lemons into lemonade somehow.
Why?
So I started to write.
I was going to ask the question, why? Why can't you? I mean, really? Don't people do that?
Yeah, they do. And some of my clients do. And
I was going to say it. I was from New York, and
I'm from Detroit.
A lot of them live on the island of Manhattan.
And they're miserable. Not all of them, but
you can tell from people. I mean, you just look in somebody's eyes and you know where anger is. Yeah, exactly.
I can't.
So that's a choice, obviously.
Yeah, it is a choice. I really feel like it is. People get mad at me and they push back just like they push back with your TED Talk, right? Like they get mad, they get angry. Like they say to me, well, I'm sorry, I just can't, I get up every day and they're still angry at their exes for whatever they've done. They take no accountability. They don't own it. I mean, my first book, like people say to me, I can't believe you said the stuff you said. Look I was a bitch. I wasn't, there's a reason why I'm divorced. I mean, if I was nice every day and had sex all the time, I wouldn't be here, right? So you have to, come on, let's be honest. It takes two, for God's sakes.
It does.
You have to own your crap. You have to own it. And so I look at my husband now and we're best friends and people say, well, why don't you get back together? well, we don't want that. It's not that I'm not regretting my divorce. I'm regretting the way I treated him. I'm regretting the way that we ended, we ended before we did the work because we didn't know better. But now looking back 5 years out of it, I'm like, oh my God, if I just woulda, coulda, shoulda, I can help other people.
So,
does that make sense?
Because you speak to a lot of other people
I
and
do.
they're involved in your work, as you said. Have you learned that? I mean, what are some of the things that you've learned about the process
where
that
do I
you
start?
wish you would have known sort of 5 years before the end of your marriage?
Right. That's my
Not the
second
day
book.
before, not the,
Yeah, no.
not right as you're going to the courthouse steps,
Where do I
right?
start? I mean, there's so many things. Yeah, my second book is.
I don't know. Pick a couple.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I mean, I wish I would have known that it's not only my life was going to change so drastically with my friendships, but my kids' friendships. Oh my God, Adam, I had no idea my kids were going to lose. This makes me I cry every time I talk about it, every podcast. I had no idea the friendships my kids, the pain they were going to endure friendship wise. I knew my friendships were going to change. Everyone said, oh, your friends will stick by you. No, they don't. Look, and I have the best divorce. I have the best of the worst. We're amicable. We thought we'd make it easy for everyone. We're a team. We're going to stick together. We nested. We still sit together at baseball games. But people, we figured they choose one or the other, right?
Right.
They just let us both go. And then my kids, all their friends went too, because nobody knew, then instead of inviting Jonah and Zach to to the birthday parties, they just said, forget them also. So then my kids had no friends at school and no one wanted to talk to them and they didn't get invited on the ski trips anymore. I'm like, well, you could take them still. I'll send money, but no one wanted them. It's just devastating. You can't even believe, right? I had no idea the impact that was going to have on my kids. Yes. I thought they'll be resilient, they'll be fine. They're not. It's it's really, really horrifying what they go through. So yes. It's really a big deal.
What's another thing, let's say, that you wish you had known 5 years beforehand?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
because look, relationships, here's the deal, right? Relationships are tough. And maybe there are people that are watching, listening now that say, well, okay, it's easy for you to say that. What's your
right. Well, I wish I had someone.
What right do you have to say? I'll just say this. Yeah. I'm married to the same person.
Yeah.
Person I met in college.
She's wonderful. She's awesome.
The best. I mean,
yes.
but and that's true. And yet she's just a human being. So I speak very well of my wife because it's easy to, because she truly is this lovely human being.
I love that.
I mean, and I only wish I'm not even kidding, because she'll look at me, she says, you're the more evolved one. You're like the Buddha. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm a recovering angeraholic. I am nasty on the inside.
But we all have those days, right?
No, for sure.
Right.
But she's just a human being and she has her stuff.
Yeah.
And being married this summer will be 31 years.
Oh my gosh.
And just getting up to that milestone of 25, where I knew my parents had kind of, petered out right around that time. That was a weird time for us.
I can't believe they made it that long. Most people, it's 7 years, 10 years, and they're like, oh, Jen, I'm out.
For the kids. I mean, that was it. My dad, I'm going to I'll share a story that I've never shared before publicly, really quick, which is that when I was, maybe 12 years old, something like that. I might have been, I don't know, could have been 14. I don't remember, but I was young and my dad took me someplace, it was afternoon. We went to went to an apartment in an apartment building. We were living in an apartment building. I'm like, where are we? What are we doing? And we go into this apartment, it's vacant. And we start walking around, it's like a 2-bedroom or something like that. And at some point he looks at me and he says, I'm thinking about leaving and go, getting, splitting with your mom. And I want us to be together. This would be where you would live with me. It's hard not to get choked up.
I like really.
So Jennifer, he said, I'm not going to do anything without without you saying yes, without your approval. This is what my dad said. And so I looked at him and this is something I'll never forget. The other details falling away, they don't matter. I looked at him and I said, I want our family to stay together.
Of course you did.
Well, I said that to my dad when he was in pain, when their marriage was, from his perspective, certainly sucked. And he looked at me and said, just tell me whether I can do this. Do I have permission to do this? And I told him no.
Of course you did.
Yeah,
And every
exactly.
kid asked, any kid, the statistics will tell you, kids would 100, I mean, I'm telling you, would rather be in a house where their parents are, this, everyone will tell me you're wrong, where your parents are actually yelling and screaming, as
Yep.
long as they're not right, than have their parents apart.
In part because that's also where we learn what love means.
Of
And now
course.
having, all
Of
this
course.
time from then and the wonderful work and the reading and
Yeah.
the people,
Yeah.
et cetera, I find that the sort of universally accepted that those first 7 or 8 years are the time when we determine for
Absolutely.
ourselves, this is a large part of what you do in the world, and your work is about love.
Yeah.
Well, people come into relationships with their own personal identity and their own definition of what love
Of
looks
course.
like, what it means. That's why you can't imagine somebody would stay with an abusive spouse. And yet
Right.
for them, if that's what love means, if that's what attention means, because it's what they grew up seeing or experiencing, as odd as that sounds, as distorted as it even sounds, that you would equate love with physical abuse or mental or emotional abuse. It is what it is, the fact that we gravitate toward what we
Right.
find familiar and what we know to be true.
Right.
So,
Well, it's really hard for me too, because I have like clients or I have friends that come to me and they're like, I'm really thinking, my heart isn't fluttering anymore. The garage door goes up at the end of the day. And I don't know, I just don't feel like I'm in love anymore. And I want to choke them. I want to look at them, my girlfriends or my clients, and say, that's why really? Like, you're not in love, quote unquote, anymore? Like, you're going to throw away your family because your heart doesn't flutter at the end of the day? I'm like, wait a minute, here's a book that I wrote. Here's my life. Check it out, because you are out of your mind. Go home. And that's what I say. I'm like, it is so beyond shocking to me how people are so quick. It's the quickness, the like immediate gratification they need. They don't want to put the work in. Look, I'm not saying, again, caveat here, get out if you're in an abusive relationship. I'm not saying that, but my God, if you think that the grass is greener where I'm sitting, right? Look, all relationships are hard. They're all work. Life is tough. But if you think that the work that you're doing in your marriage is any more difficult than to be happily divorced, because it's work to be happily divorced. You know how hard it is to co-parent with, someone that you're angry with, or you're mad or resentful. Oh my God. I mean, this is like a whole different ballgame, right?
Yes.
So I tell my clients, I'm like, y'all go home and just, dig deep and figure out, is this really what you want? Right? And 9 out of 10 times I come back to like, Jen, thank God you gave me that book. I scare the crap out of people,
Tell me if you agree with this, Jennifer. Yeah. It's our responsibility, anybody that's in relationship, to do the work on yourself first and foremost, because again, when if we think about the fact that the way that we define love has everything to do with who we attract as a mate and what that relationship looks like once we do connect with somebody, then if it's not working, if there's something that's showing up that you don't appreciate, you have to ask yourself, well, again, what's my responsibility in this?
Right.
And what's my work to do? And equally, what's not my responsibility? What's not my work to do? But
100%.
But it has to start with us. So, even early in the relationship with Randy, meaning early into our marital relationship, I was modeling a number of the same traits, a number of the same things I saw in the house growing up. The kind of, histrionics, these outbursts at time, and, just a lot of just a lot of drama. I don't know how to put it,
catch it, but you caught it early and you changed your
behavior.
I
caught it because I didn't want the same outcome.
Right.
So what was good for me at that time, as I look back on it now, was that I knew that the outcome that was promised by modeling or repeating that same behavior was one I didn't want.
I hope that's for my kids too. I hope my kids see that. I hope my kids, that's the wish that I have for them, is that they say, I don't want what we have. I hope that that's what happens with them.
And I mean, and the conversation around that's important as well, because absolutely. I would think, people don't really want to sit down necessarily with their kids and talk about their divorce or talk about how badly they've behaved, or how, because, and if there is bad behavior that's going to come up in that discussion, what kind of bad behavior.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes.
It's your father or it's your mother. And it's always going to be directed at them.
Sure,
like they're
sure.
the bad actors.
Well, you
right?
can't do that, right? You can't do that. I tell my clients there's no bad mouthing each other. I mean, I have set up rules, right? But like it's very hard to stick to them when you're so angry, right?
Yes.
It's so difficult. Divorce is just, but it's happening. The numbers are getting larger every day.
Is that right?
And,
I haven't followed any of those statistics.
Oh, it's awful.
Is it more than 50%?
Yeah, it's more than 50% now. And it's happening. Actually, it's really crazy. This is so nuts. But millennials, this is so incredible, are actually, the divorce rate's lower. Millennials are actually doing things right. They're waiting longer to get married.
They're postponing.
Oh,
Right?
I love it. And it's not because they care about marriage less. It's because they care about marriage more, which is fabulous. Helen Fisher, she's a biological anthropologist, and she talks about slow love, which I love her.
That's interesting.
They're
what
waiting.
is slow love?
Slow love. It's what it is.
It's like a position in the bed or something.
Yeah, no, I wish it was. No, that's one of my favorites. But she talks about waiting longer, and that they're waiting longer and they're not feeling the pressures from their parents like we did. I felt pressure. I was 27. I was the last of all my friends to get married and have kids. My parents sent me to Israel on a singles mission.
On a singles mission.
Go get married. Right?
You will come back married.
You will. You've dated everyone in the whole city. Now find yourself a man. And I did. I came back, like literally got engaged 6 months later,
Really?
got pregnant, got engaged, married, pregnant, and within a year.
Oh man. Oh, you're a good listener.
I was. My parents were like, you do this. That's it. I didn't even know the guy. I love him. He's the best. I mean, my ex-husband is the best. I can't even tell, but I had to get divorced for us to become friends, which is so sad. But like my kids are like, Mom, you talk all the time. What's wrong with you? You're supposed to be divorced. That's okay. You know, but that doesn't happen. It's so rare to have a relationship like us. So rare. So,
is there I mean, for people that are listening right now who are, I'm sure there's folks that are in solid relationships. There was people that are questioning the relationships they're in. Some are on their way out, and then there are those that have left already. Is there for the folks, let's say, that are already out, is there I don't want to call it a secret or some, cheesy term like that, but what's one thing that has helped you to be able to talk about your husband the way you do, your ex, your husband, and also that you can be in the same room with each other? I've spent time with people who cannot spend time in the same room,
what it is.
let alone the same state, even with their ex.
It's all about your ego. All about your ego. You have to put your ego aside and your kids first. If you think about it's all about your kids. This is the craziest thing. During a divorce, you have to put your kids first. During a marriage, they have to come second. Your relationship has to come first during a marriage.
All right, I wanted you to repeat that, but you're doing it anyway. So that's good.
Okay, so this is my TED Talk. I'm giving you a little bit.
I love it. This is the TED Talk right here.
You have to put your kids first during a divorce, right? But during a marriage, you must put your kids second. And every time I talk about it, people go, I can't believe she said that. Put your kids second. What do you mean? And they're like screaming at me. By the end of the talk that I give, they're like, oh my God, she's right. Your relationship has to come first.
I get it, but I really want other folks to hear it from your mouth.
Okay. So if you don't put your spouse first, my whole life I was taught, right? My generation, I watched my mom put us first. We were always first. Kids first. That's what I did. I got married. My kids came out of my vagina and I said, Mark, you're second now. Jonah's first.
I love it. You just said vagina.
I said vagina.
Haven't had that word come up on one of my shows recently. And maybe in 150 some episodes, I don't know that it's ever come up.
I'm doing the clinical work.
And I've even gotten to say it now too, just because I was just paraphrasing, edifying, and I just thought, well, we'll drop the V word. Why not?
I was thinking, you're lucky I said the vagina. I was going to say something else.
I could say it again, but I won't. See, you thought I was going to do it.
But the minute that Jonah came out, I said, Mark, you're now number 2. And he looked at me, he thought I was kidding. But from that day forward, my kids came first because that's
Did you literally say that? I know you're a funny person.
No, I did. Yeah. I looked at him, I said, you're number 2. The nurses were all like, oh, I think she's kidding. Everyone thought I was kidding, but I'm serious to this day. He looks at me and says, you told me, you warned me. And here's the thing. I honestly thought that's how it was supposed to be. Like, I just thought they came first.
You're just following the rules.
I was following the rules.
Again, you're a good girl, right?
I'm a good girl. I'm a good fight. That's what
they told you to do this. You did it.
But when I ask when I'm public speaking and I ask everybody, I say, who puts their kids first? Everyone raises their hand because they think that's the right answer.
Well, it's the badge of honor, right?
Right. You're the best mom.
I think more for women than for men.
Absolutely. But guess what men put first? Guess what? When I ask men what they put first, I say, hey guys, who puts their jobs before their kids? They all go.
There you go. Right.
Because what
Well,
do they do?
men, they're supposed to
Their
protect and
money.
provide. That's the deal.
Absolutely.
Right? That's
Right.
in the DNA. Yeah.
Absolutely. But guess what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to put
And
each
aren't
other.
women and mothers supposed to nurture their kids? Isn't that
Of
their
course.
first responsibility?
But guess what happens when you put each other first? The minute you put your relationship first, automatically, by default, your kids come first because they see the most amazing
Yes.
thing, right?
They
Am I
do,
right?
don't they?
They
What
do.
if you were going to give your kids, like with a magic wand,
Yes.
one
I always
wonderful
cry.
gift in life? You know, it would be the ability to have great relationships throughout
Yes.
their lives, right? What
Yes.
else would you give them? Yeah, you want to give them health. I know
Yeah.
that's going to
Of
be like
course.
high on the
Of
list
course.
for
I have the
sure.
chills. Yeah.
But the
I always
truth of the
cry.
matter is even health comes second in some respects to the
Yes.
quality of your relationships.
Well, what
doesn't it?
happens, right? What happens when they see a mom and dad that are happy and they're in love and they're kissing each other and you go, oh, gross, stop kissing. And you're holding hands. And like, I can't believe mom and dad are so in love. And then what happens? You have sex and then the oxytocin and the dopamine and your hormones. And guess what? Everybody's happy. Because when mom and dad are happy, who else is happy? Everybody, the dog, the mailman, everybody's happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens. So automatically by putting each other first and nurturing your relationship and your bond that you have together, boom, bingo.
Yeah.
Your marriage
It's
works.
this very interesting paradox. I was
Yes.
a dichotomy, but it's really a paradox that
It is.
that selfish is not it. It is selfish to be
Right.
to be selfless.
Selfless. Right.
That's what's selfish. I told I used to have that conversation with my father-in-law when he was alive, and I miss him every day. I think about him, and this was an area of dispute for us because he's not around today. He's not around because in my view anyway, he didn't take great care of himself. He wasn't putting himself first.
Well, didn't you say that during your TED Talk? You said that you weren't taking care of you.
I wasn't. That was the irony, is that I
Right.
was the one going down in my own water.
Right.
I was drowning.
Right.
And it took my daughter, fortunately, one of our kids, to point it out to me, to just, hold the mirror up, which is great because at some point that road doesn't lead to good places when we put ourselves second.
Right.
And when we put our relationship with ourselves second to our kids, that's even, I think,
I agree.
worse than putting our relationship with our spouse second.
Absolutely. You have to take, and the thing is, it's funny because I didn't get all this until I got divorced, because I was sitting in Malibu overlooking the ocean, and I was listening to a speaker. Her name is Andrea Quinn, and she was talking about her relationship. She's divorced 3 times and she finally got it right. And I was listening to her speak, and she was telling a story about her ex-husband and how she used to yell at him every time he put a glass on the top rack in her dishwasher, it would break. And she would go nuts on him. And why couldn't he figure out? And da-da-da-da-da. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, that was me. I was emasculating. I always thought, Mark, I could do it better. I could do it faster. I could do it quicker. I was awful. I was awful to him. And I started crying. I got it from the beach, the overlooking mountain. And I called him. I found a cell spot. And I said, Mark, I was separated already. I said, Mark, I'm so sorry. I was crying when I tell this part. I'm so sorry. I was awful to you. For 10 years, I was awful. He said, Jennifer, stop beating yourself up. He said, you weren't awful. I was awful. We were both awful. And I said, no, stop. Let me apologize. I am sorry. Yeah. I was emasculating and I am sorry. And he said, it's okay. But you have to take accountability for what you've done in your relationship so you can move forward. And that's what I needed. Yeah. But I didn't see that until it was too late.
It's fair for you to ask me the same question. I'm going to ask you something that I didn't plan on asking, and I think this is an out there kind of a question, and I'm not even sure that you can answer it, but I love your opinion anyway.
Okay.
Are women confused?
So I always get in trouble when I answer this because
Oh, you get asked this?
I get asked a little bit differently. I know what you're saying, so I get asked. People always say to me that I'm so pro. That I women bash, that I'm so pro male because I always say this too, that I think women are not confused. I think they need to be, how to say this, they need to be sat down and told, am I saying it right? And maybe I should talk to them all. Does that make sense? I feel like
well, we're going to see. What would you tell women if you could sit them down all at once?
Can I be honest?
And have some words with them? I want you to be totally honest.
Okay, so usually when I talk, and this is why maybe people like to have me around, I put the men on one side and the women on the other. And I always look at the women and I say, and I really do, I just say to them, if you don't treat your husbands kinder and stop nagging them, and you don't start having sex with them, you're going to end up divorced. Okay. And then I look at the men and I say to them, if you don't start listening when your wife speaks to you, okay, you're going to be in a very bad, like the whole big, whatever. It takes both sides, right? But every time I say to the women, or I say to the men, who nags, whose wife nags, all the hands go up. And every time I say to the women, whose men don't listen, all the hands go up.
Yeah.
So it's typically very, those are the big things that happen, right? I mean, like those are the, right, everyone's house is the same. But I always say it flat out. If you don't have sex with your husband, he will find somebody who will. And the whole audience goes, and then all the husbands go,
This is great. So a friend of ours who we see a few times a year wrote a very famous book on this topic. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Of course, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to get John on the show and have the same. I'm going to have the same conversation.
Oh my God, I would die.
No, I don't know. Well, I have a feeling, but because he's pretty out there and very, very honest, just like you. And I love that. That's so wonderful. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a two-way street. And by the way, I asked that question because I feel like the traditional roles have definitely changed. And I'm not one to say that's a good thing or not a good thing. Right. They've just changed.
They have changed.
There's adjustment periods. And maybe we're just in the grand scheme of history of humanity. This is just one of those little times where sociologists 100 years from now, with the benefit of study, research of what happened, they'll look at us and go, well, this is what happened to the Institute of Marriage. To the institution of marriage. Yeah. And this is what happened in relationships when there was this blurring of some distinct lines that people, were following.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know that we can say it's a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing, right?
How do you feel about technology though? Because then you throw technology into the mix and Facebook, and you should see the stats on that, like that. I mean, Facebook is like, Well,
I'll tell you what I think about that. So this will be a separate podcast, but you can see. I'll show you my phone, for example, and people that are watching this on YouTube will see it too. Let's see here. So, what do you notice about this?
You have
it's a beautiful picture. That's, by the way, that's.
Wait, do you have no apps?
Hold on a second. No, I have apps. I'll show you those.
Okay, what is that though?
Hold on. So this is Lake Tahoe.
Oh.
And it's gorgeous. And it's
you were talking about the weather. I'm getting all jealous as it's tornadoing here.
But can you see can you see the details? Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you noticing about the screen you're looking at?
I'm jealous. I don't know. What am I?
Why are you jealous?
It's so calming and
serene.
How
about this? All right, so let's get rid of that so you can just see. So there's apps, right?
Okay,
there's nothing calming or serene at all about that.
Okay.
What are you noticing about the screen?
I don't know. Tell me.
All right. So how about colors? Let's just go to the obvious thing.
Well, it's hard to see with the. Yeah.
Oh, it's tough.
All black and white.
Yeah.
It's all black and white.
It's grayscale.
Oh yeah. Why?
It's grayscale because I watched a documentary about exactly what's happening, or at least from the perspective of the people they interviewed, what's happening with our mobile phones, mobile devices, and what's in it for the likes of pick any company that does their business primarily through a mobile app.
Okay.
Other than sort of ride sharing companies or things like that, these companies are looking for eyeballs. It's all about us spending time. I won't use words that are kind of judgmental about the whole business model, but let's just say the more time we spend, the more time we're looking, the more time we're consuming and we're interacting and engaging, the more money they make for everything, for their advertising, for for the information that they share with or without our consent. So this interviewer in this documentary said to this person who was one of the early tech people, programmers at a very large platform, which again, I'm not going to say what that was. And she says to him, well, look, I'm looking at your phone. You have a smartphone? He goes, yeah, I do. She says, so you're saying that we shouldn't be on the devices or on the apps because the apps are actually stealing our time and ultimately manipulating us to do what they're looking for. And she said, so, but you have one. He goes, yeah, except because I need it for this, for that. I got to check my email. I get texts. I'm no different than anybody else. But I don't engage in the apps. I'm not spending time on those apps. And part of the reason why I'm not is that I broke the hold. It's like I broke the spell. And she goes, well, what was the spell? She said, well, they're designed using colors and sound, among other things. But we take in more information, and more of our brain is the bandwidth for us is primarily coming from our what we visually see.
Right.
And so the colors and everything that's on that screen is designed to keep us coming back. So
you're absolutely right.
Like the little red number at the top that shows you how many messages or how many likes or how
drives
many,
me crazy.
comments or whatever it is. These are the things that have you continue to go back and look and
it's addicting.
That's all. That's what it's intended to be. It's addicting and it's purposeful. And the sounds, same thing. Every time you hear that little ding that says you've got a new message or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
There's studies that say that when you hear that, or when you see that little red signal, et cetera, that it triggers inside of us the fight or flight response, meaning constantly producing on it during the day, low levels of cortisol. So we're in sort of a low level state of anxiety a lot of the day. I saw that, I heard it. It didn't even mean like, I didn't need to have the research and go further. I just said to myself, do I really want to spend more time looking at my phone than looking at other people?
Right.
I want to repeat that. Do I want to spend more time on my device than I want to spend being present with other people? And we all know what it's like to walk out in the street and see people that used to be, no one would make eye contact in Manhattan. Like I was a lawyer walking through, people wouldn't make eye contact because that would mean, like you could get in a fight or something. Now you don't have to worry about making eye contact because people are all staring at their screens. And you go to dinner and there's families and
try dating
on dates that are staring at their screens, right? So we've all seen it. We all get it. And the question is, are you going to be part, or am I going to be part of someone else's manipulative business model, or am I going to decide for myself whether I want to spend more time on my device or staring at it than staring into the eyes of somebody that I want to know, I want to care about, I want to listen to.
It's a great idea.
With. So it's just interesting. And so it took me about 10 minutes because I'm not the quickest on technology, but after about 10 minutes, I figured out how to get my phone to grayscale. And so now I have the best of what I think are the both worlds. I've got everything I need or want or whatever it is for business, et cetera, but I'm not playing that game the same way. Yeah. And I got to tell you, my time with this thing is down by probably 2/3 because it's boring. Look at it.
Right. It's boring.
There's nothing interesting.
It does look a little boring.
It does look a little. And I'll be real honest. The only thing that I miss it all, and I'm not even missing it so much anymore because I love black and white pictures. Yeah. Black and white pictures are awesome. And you weren't even thinking, oh my God, that's Lake Tahoe, and why is it look the way it looks? Yeah. So that's the only thing. And when I want to see a picture of the kids or some other thing in color, I'll either go on my laptop to see it, or I'll go on my wife's phone and look at it.
Of course.
So there it is.
Yeah, that's what I tell people about
want to spend more time having have more sex? Get off your device.
Get off your phone.
Get off your phone.
Get your head out of your apps. Get it? Get your head out of your apps.
Get your head out of your apps.
That's right.
It's hysterical. All right. So I want to ask you a question that I pretty much ask every guest because we're studying and researching the topic of resilience. We talk a lot about how important resilience is. And when we talk about whether you're in relationship that needs work or you're out of a relationship that was intolerable, whatever that looks like, resilience is a big component of it.
Yes.
And I'd love to get your take on that, your definition or your take on what resilience looks like and means to you.
Well, this is something that I was thinking about it when you asked me, and I never thought of myself when I was younger, growing up. I never thought I was very resilient. I quit everything. I quit everything. And when it got hard, when it got too tough, I quit. I was a great cheerleader, but when it was too tough, I quit. I was in theater. When I got the lead, it was fine. But if I didn't get the lead, I quit. You know what I mean? I was always like, if it got too difficult, math, it was fine. I was quit. I was good at a lot of things, but I wasn't great at one thing. Does that make sense?
It does.
I don't know if I was scared of success, or I was scared of not being good enough. I think that's what it was. I wasn't very resilient at all. And I think my divorce taught me, and my kids taught me, I didn't want them to see me fail again. I'm going to cry. Anyway, but I failed at my marriage, I feel like. And I wasn't going to let it happen again. Right. Yeah. So I just became resilient automatically, I feel like. And then I just won't stop now. I just won't stop. And it's hard every day. I get up every day and I'm like, I'm tired sometimes. And, but I won't quit. I think for my children, they made me more resilient. I just get up and I'm like, you just got to do it, Jen. You just got to do it. Dig deep and just find it, So I don't know if that answered your question, but.
It did. It does.
Okay.
And thank you.
You're welcome.
The rituals that we have to do certain things. Sort of, the way I look at rituals is that they're a conscious attempt to change something, right? There's something we want to change, and we say, I'm going to do this in order to get that change to happen. Yeah. Habits are different. We think about habits. I look at them as the things we don't think about, that we just have mastered, I suppose, to a certain level. And when we've brushed our teeth for the 18,000th time, we've mastered that skill. It doesn't, and by mastered, I don't mean we even do a great job, because we know every time we go to the dentist, they tell us what a shitty job we do brushing our teeth. We didn't floss enough. So clearly, doing it 18,000 times doesn't mean you become a master at anything, really, right? So that's a whole other conversation for another day. Sure. But this idea of consciously choosing to do something to create something like resilience, is there something that you can look at in the daily things you do with consciousness that produces greater resilience? And if not, for some reason, maybe this is that moment where you decide. Yeah,
I'm kind of thinking, I think I need to do something. I do. You know what? I've always wanted, I really want to meditate. Everyone I know that meditates. Do you meditate?
I do now.
You do?
I do. It's a funny part of my TED where I said I'm a really crappy meditator, right?
Yes, you did.
And there was something about saying that out loud in front of so many people and all this and that, and laughing about it, that went to me, you know what? Do I have to continue to be a crappy meditator just because I declared that out loud?
Right. Well,
and I don't. I'm not a crappy meditator.
Oh, good. Okay. See, I can meditate. I used to think I couldn't. I would tell everybody, all my guru people, I would say, no, you can't. I'd be like, no, I can't. I'm too hyper. I can't do it. But you can, right?
Yeah.
You totally can. Well, I don't.
Even lunatics like us can meditate, right?
Even like crazy, right? Exactly. So I feel like that's my goal is to be. I'm gonna be more. What's the word? I'm going to try to just meditate, like really do it, I think, and be more intentional about actually making it happen.
So what do you think you'll get out of doing that?
Well, you know what? I was just diagnosed with a crazy autoimmune disease, and I have to have infusions and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I think that I will find a little bit more inner peace, maybe, and a little more, I think I'll be more grounded. Sometimes I feel like my shoulders are always up. Do you ever feel like that, where like you just can't?
Tense.
Yeah, tense. Maybe that would help. And I think.
And it's clear. I mean, everybody can, I think, figure out how being more calm and peaceful and grounded would actually help with resilience. Would contribute to your ability to keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. Just got to keep going, And I think you find people for a reason. And I think that, we find people like you in this connection, and like you find people that keep you going. Right. Yes. And so it's cool. I'm glad I met you. This is a great talk.
Oh, Jennifer, I'm thrilled that we met, that you came on the show. And
you're awesome. Tell me you say hi.
And by the way, I just am in love with that the Truth Hurvitz, right?
That was the first thing I ever did. I didn't even know how to write. And then
it's clever. I appreciate and I respect clever.
Thank you.
And not just clever, but like my grandmother's form of cleverness, where there's an intelligence.
Thank you.
And it's not just a silly thing. So
you.
Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for sharing so vulnerably, transparently what's going on and what has happened. There's a lot of people that that where it's not necessarily over just because a relationship isn't going well, or the trajectory is sort of, like a death spiral into the, it doesn't mean you can't pull up, that there isn't. I believe in miracles. I wake up every day and pretty much every day, in addition to saying those words, I love my life, I say these words. I say, I wonder what miracles are coming today. I said that out loud this morning, and Randy and I were lying in bed, and we had a little giggle about it. And they're just miracles all the time. So why, if you believe that, if you buy that, and I can't imagine any adult person does not have a lot of their own living proof of what a miracle can be. I mean, just the fact that you are breathing in this moment, just the fact that you could be listening to a podcast of two people you may have never heard of, you never know, you've never met, but you're on your you're Peloton, you're on the treadmill, you're walking in the desert, you're in a car or at work when you should be working, and you're listening to this podcast. Whatever it is that you're doing, this is a freaking bona fide miracle, and that you're breathing and alive, and that the world is that you're sitting, standing, or whatever, lying down on a great big ball of dirt that is the size of a grain of sand spinning in infinite space. I mean, for real? You can't put any faith in miracle. I mean, it's like somehow that's happening. That's all going on. The tides are coming in and going out, and there's animals that that are doing things that are remarkable, and all that's happening, and somehow or another you can't turn around a shitty relationship. You can't figure out a way to be kinder, or to be more compassionate, or to be more present with someone, or to just express love, even if it doesn't mean you're going to live together forever, or even if it doesn't mean whatever it doesn't mean. Can you just extend love to someone that is, someone in your life today that you don't feel like extending love to, or forgiveness or something? I mean, it's just all possible. And I'm really happy that we got to have this conversation. And it's just a couple of weeks after, after Valentine's Day too. So it's good timing for it. And for folks out there, we'd love to get your feedback. I know Jennifer is doing amazing things in the world. She's got a great website. You can find out more about her, the work she's doing, her blog, her podcast. All of that will be in the show notes. Click those links. Go to her website. Check her out. I mean, there's so many places to learn, and she's a font of great everything. Thanks, Jennifer. Really. Yeah, thank you. And of course, leave your comments at adammarkel.com/podcasts. And if you haven't subscribe to the show. We'd love to get your feedback. So quick reminder for the ritual when we wake up tomorrow: put your feet on the floor. If you can do that, that's a miracle all by itself. Not everybody gets to do that. Take a deep breath. Pause for just 10 seconds. Just 10 seconds before you get on to the ordinary things of the day, the important things of the day as well, like getting that coffee made, getting the shower in, and the shave, and the kids dressed, and the lunch is made, and all the stuff we've got going on. Take 10 seconds for yourself. Put yourself first when you wake up tomorrow. And if you want to say something like, I love my life, then go for it. If you want to say something like, I wonder what miracles are coming today, go for it. Jennifer, what's one thing that you could recommend that people say first thing out of the gate when they wake up?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Just choose happy. Just choose happy. Wake up and choose happy. Just be happy.
I choose
Show
happy.
up and choose happy.
Love it. So killer. Beautiful. All right, everybody. Ciao for now.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you now have the tools and greater insights to navigate your own pivot. Help us inspire others by sharing this episode and leaving your comments over at adammarkel.com/podcasts. For more tips, strategies, and support as you consciously pivot into a new business and lifestyle you love, join our Pivot community on Facebook at pivotfb.com.